The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was the largest room Michael Turner had ever seen. It floated in space, attached to a station that orbited a dead world called Velis Prime. 12 alien species had built this place together, and they used it to control the galaxy. Today, they had gathered to decide if one human should live or die. Michael stood alone in a glass cage at the center of the chamber. His hands were bound with energy cuffs that burned his wrists. Around him, hundreds of alien faces looked down from their seats. Some had scales, some had fur. Some had no faces at all, just smooth skin and glowing eyes. None of them looked friendly. High Arbiter Colvin sat on the tallest throne. He was a Dreth, a species that looked like a mix between a lizard and a man. His gray scales shimmered under the chamber lights, and his yellow eyes never blinked. He had hated humans since the first day they arrived in the galaxy. Now, he finally had one in his power. "Michael Turner of Earth," Colvin said. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "You stand accused of crimes against the Galactic Council. You have spread lies. You have encouraged rebellion. You have turned 3 colony worlds against their rightful rulers. How do you answer these charges?" Michael looked up at the High Arbiter. He was tired. They had kept him in a dark cell for 3 weeks, giving him little food and no water that tasted clean. But he did not let his exhaustion show. He kept his back straight and his eyes steady. "I answer with the truth," Michael said. "Those colonies were being robbed. Your council took their food, their metals, their children for labor camps. I only told them what you were doing. They chose to fight back on their own." A wave of angry murmurs passed through the chamber. Colvin raised one clawed hand, and the room fell silent. "You admit to your crimes," Colvin said. "That makes this simple." Michael almost laughed. There was nothing simple about any of this. But that was the point. The council thought humans were simple. They thought Earth was a small, weak planet full of primitive creatures who had stumbled into space by accident. They had been thinking this for 50 years, ever since first contact, and humanity had let them believe it. "The council will now vote," Colvin announced. One by one, 12 lights turned red around the chamber. 12 species. 12 votes. All of them wanted him dead. Not a single voice spoke in his defense. No one asked for mercy. Also be. God. Also be. Also be. No one questioned if this was fair. Michael watched the lights and felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment. Everything depended on what happened next. "The vote is complete," Colvin said. He could not hide his pleasure. His thin lips pulled back to show rows of sharp teeth. "Michael Turner, you are sentenced to death. The execution will take place immediately. May your species learn from your failure." Colvin reached for a ceremonial seal on his throne. It was an ancient thing, made of black metal and covered in symbols. When he pressed it, the death warrant would become official, legal, permanent. His claw touched the seal, and then every screen in the chamber turned white. For a moment, nothing happened. The aliens looked around in confusion. Some stood from their seats. Others called for guards. Colvin froze with his claw still on the seal, his yellow eyes wide. Then a face appeared on every screen. A human face. A woman with black hair pulled back tight, wearing a military uniform that no one in the chamber recognized. Her eyes were dark and calm, and she was smiling. "High Arbiter Colvin," the woman said. "Members of the Galactic Council. My name is Admiral Yuna Kang, of the United Earth Navy. You do not know me, but you will." Colvin's scales turned pale. "This is impossible. Humans do not have a navy. You have nothing but trade ships and old shuttles." Admiral Kang's smile grew wider. "That is what we wanted you to believe." Michael felt his chest swell with pride. He had never met the Admiral in person. He had only seen her photograph once, in a secret briefing room buried deep beneath the surface of Earth. But he knew her voice. He had memorized it. And now, the whole galaxy was about to hear it too. You have just signed a death warrant for a human citizen without legal representation, Admiral Kang continued. That is a violation of your own galactic charter. Article 7. Section 12. You have given us legal grounds to respond. And we will respond. The chamber erupted into chaos. Aliens were shouting, running, calling for weapons. Guards poured through the doors with rifles raised, but they had no target to shoot. The Admiral was not in the room. She could have been anywhere in the galaxy. Where is she? Colvin screamed. Find the source of this signal. But his technicians only shook their heads. They could not trace it. They could not stop it. For the first time in his long life, High Arbiter Colvin looked afraid. Admiral Kang leaned closer to the screen. Her smile faded. Her eyes turned cold. For 50 years, you have treated humanity like animals, she said. You took our resources. You insulted our ambassadors. You laughed at us in this very chamber. We let you. We smiled and nodded, and played the role of the weak newcomers. But we were never weak. We were waiting. She paused. The chamber fell silent. Every alien, every guard, every council member stood frozen, watching the screens. Michael Turner is not just a diplomat, Admiral Kang said. He is a soldier, a hero, and he is bait. Michael looked up at the screens and grinned. You just made your last mistake, Admiral Kang said. The transmission ended. The screens went dark, and then the alarms began to scream. Colvin turned to look at Michael through the glass cage. The human was still smiling. He was still calm. He looked like a man who had already won. What have you done? Colvin whispered. Michael met his eyes without fear. I woke up the dragon, he said. And now it is hungry. 6 months before the trial, Michael Turner walked through a door that did not exist on any map. The entrance was hidden beneath an old warehouse in Busan, a city on the southern coast of Korea. From the outside, the building looked abandoned. Broken windows, rusted walls, weeds growing through the concrete. But deep below the surface, in tunnels that stretched for miles, humanity's greatest secret was waiting. General Tae Woo-jin stood at the end of a long hallway, watching Michael approach. The general was 60 years old, but he moved like a much younger man. His gray hair was cut short, and his uniform carried no medals or decorations. He did not need symbols to show his power. Everyone who worked in this place knew who he was. You came, the general said. Michael nodded. You said it was important. Important? The general laughed, but there was no humor in it. I said it would change everything. Come, let me show you why. They walked together through a series of heavy doors, each one guarded by soldiers who wore no insignia. The walls were thick concrete, built to survive anything. The lights were dim and blue, powered by hidden reactors that the Galactic Council did not know existed. Finally, they reached a vast underground chamber. Michael stopped at the entrance and stared. Before him stood a warship. It was not large by galactic standards, maybe 200 meters long. But it was sleek and dark and covered in weapons that Michael had never seen before. Engineers moved around it like ants, checking systems and loading supplies. The ship hummed with quiet power. This is the UENS Hansan, General Tae said. The first of 17 carriers we have built in secret. There are 200 frigates in other locations, and one dreadnought that makes this ship look like a toy. Michael could not speak. For 50 years, the Council had believed that humans were primitive. They had limited Earth's technology, blocked their trade routes, and kept them dependent on alien scraps. And the whole time, humanity had been building this. How? Michael finally asked. Patience, the general said. When the Council first rejected our application for military development, we did not argue. We accepted their decision. We smiled. And then we started digging tunnels, He led Michael to a control room overlooking the ship. Screens covered the walls, showing images from installations across the planet and beyond, secret bases on the moon, hidden factories on Mars, research stations in the asteroid belt, all of them busy, all of them preparing. The Council thinks we are fools, General Tay said. They think we spend our time fighting each other over land and resources. They see our history of wars and assume we are too primitive to unite. But they made one mistake. They gave us a common enemy. Michael understood. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth had agreed on something. They had agreed that the Galactic Council was wrong. They had agreed that humanity deserved better. And they had agreed to wait, quietly, patiently, until the moment was right. A door opened behind them, and a woman walked in. She was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and quick movements. Her uniform identified her as a captain, and the patches on her shoulder showed expertise in cyber warfare. Captain Hannah Bake, General Tay said. She will be your handler. Hannah looked at Michael with careful interest. So you are the one they chose. Chose for what? Michael asked. General Tay turned to face him fully. His expression was serious. We need someone to start the war. Not with weapons, with law. He pulled up a document on the main screen. It was the Galactic Charter, the set of rules that governed all interactions between species. Michael had read it many times during his work as a diplomat. He knew it better than most humans alive. Article 7, Section 12. General Tay said, if a member species executes a citizen of another species without legal representation, that species has the right to full military response. Michael read the words carefully. They were clear, they were simple, and they were a trap that the Council had written themselves. The Council breaks their own rules all the time, Hannah said. But they are careful about it. They use excuses and delays. They never give anyone a clean legal reason to fight back. That is why we need you. You want me to make them angry, Michael said slowly. So angry that they forget to be careful. Yes, General Tay said. We need them to sign a death warrant without a trial, without representation, without following their own procedures. We need them to make a mistake so obvious that even their allies cannot defend it. Michael thought about this. He thought about the years he had spent bowing to alien officials who treated him like a servant. He thought about the colonies he had visited, where human children worked in mines while alien overseers lived in comfort. He thought about his sister, who had died on a transport ship that the Council refused to rescue because humans were not worth the fuel. And if I succeed? He asked. What happens to me? Hannah stepped forward. We will extract you. I will be watching every moment, tracking every signal. When the time comes, we will send a team to bring you home. And if you cannot? General Tay did not look away. Then you die a hero, and we name the first city on our first free colony after you. Michael laughed. It was not a happy sound. When do I start? He asked. 3 weeks later, Michael Turner arrived at the Galactic Council as a diplomatic representative. He carried documents that accused the Council of crimes against humanity. He demanded investigations. He gave speeches that were broadcast across alien networks. He visited colony worlds and told the workers the truth about their masters. The Council tried to silence him with bribes. He refused. They tried to discredit him with lies. He proved them wrong. They tried to arrest him quietly, but he always had witnesses, always had cameras, always had someone watching. He became the most hated human in the galaxy. And he smiled the whole time. Captain Hannah Bake watched from Earth, tracking every move he made. She counted the days. She counted the threats. She counted the moments when she thought he would die before the plan was ready. But Michael Turner did not die. He survived long enough to make High Arbiter Colvin so angry that the alien forgot every rule he had ever written. And then the trap closed. The alarms in the council chamber screamed for 15 minutes before anyone could silence them. High Arbiter Colvin stood frozen at his throne, watching chaos unfold around him. Council members were shouting into communicators. Guards were running in every direction. Technicians were trying to restore systems that had suddenly stopped working. And in the center of it all, Michael Turner sat in his glass cage, calm and quiet, like a man watching a storm he had created. "Get me a connection to the Dreth fleet," Colvin ordered. Now, his assistant, a nervous creature with too many eyes, scrambled to obey. But no matter what buttons he pressed, no matter what channels he opened, the same message appeared on every screen. "Connection blocked." "Impossible," Colvin hissed. "Our military network is the most secure in the galaxy. No species has ever broken through our defenses, but someone had." And Colvin was beginning to understand that everything he believed about humans was wrong. Across the galaxy, in 17 different locations, something was happening that the Council had never imagined possible. On the edge of Dreth space, a patrol ship noticed a strange reading on its sensors. The pilot, a young soldier on his first assignment, called it in to his commander. "Sir, I am detecting multiple large objects appearing from nowhere. They were not there a moment ago." "How many?" the commander asked. The pilot counted. His hands began to shake. 17, sir." "No, wait. More. Much more. I count over 200 vessels. That is impossible. Scan again." But the pilot did not need to scan again. The ships were visible through his window now. Dark and sleek, covered in weapons, moving in perfect formation. And on the side of each one, painted in bright white letters, were words he had never seen on a warship before. United Earth Navy. The commander grabbed his communicator. "High Command, this is Patrol 7. We are under attack." "Repeat. We are under attack. Human warships have appeared in our territory." "They are." The transmission cut off. The patrol ship's systems went dark. It hung in space, like a dead thing, unable to move, unable to fight, unable to call for help. This scene repeated across the galaxy. Dreth ships lost power. Council defense platforms went offline. Communication satellites fell silent. In less than 1 hour, the most powerful military alliance in known space was completely blind. Lieutenant Jin Dae-ho sat in a small room on Earth, watching the chaos unfold on his screens. He was the one who had made it happen. For 12 years, he had worked undercover as a translator for the Council, traveling to their worlds, visiting their ships, learning their systems. They had never suspected him. Why would they? He was just a human. Humans were too stupid to understand alien technology, but Jin Dae-ho understood it perfectly. He had mapped every weakness, copied every code, and waited for the signal to use them. Now, as he watched the Dreth fleet fail to launch, he allowed himself a small smile. "Phase 1 complete," he reported. "They are deaf and blind. The fleet can move." Admiral Yuna Kang received the report on the bridge of the UENS Hansan, the massive dreadnought that served as the flagship of Earth's hidden navy. The ship was 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons that human scientists had developed in secret over 5 decades. It had never been seen by alien eyes. Until today. "All vessels, this is Admiral Kang," she announced through the fleet-wide channel. "Begin Operation Wake-Up Call. Primary target is the Council Station at Velis Prime. Secondary objectives are the Dreth military installations in Sectors 7 through 12. Weapons free. 200 ships moved as one." They had trained for this moment in simulations. In deep space where no one was watching. In the endless darkness between stars. Every captain knew the plan. Every crew knew their role. And every human aboard carried the same fire in their heart. The memory of 50 years of insults, exploitation, and abuse. Today, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. On the Council Station, Michael Turner watched the chaos from his glass cage. Guards were abandoning their posts. Council members were fleeing to escape pods. Even Colvin had left his throne, rushing to some bunker where he thought he would be safe. But Michael was not alone for long. The wall of the chamber exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris, a figure emerged. She was small but moved with deadly speed, wearing black armor that seemed to absorb light. In her hands, she carried weapons that hummed with energy. Sergeant Nari O had arrived. She walked through the chaos like it was not there. Guards who tried to stop her fell in seconds. She did not slow down, did not hesitate, did not show any fear. When she reached Michael's cage, she pressed her hand against the glass. "Stand back," she said. Michael stepped away. Nari placed a small device on the glass and turned her head. The device beeped once, and the cage shattered into a million pieces. Michael stepped through the opening, brushing glass from his shoulders. His wrists were still bound, but Nari solved that problem with a quick slice of her blade. The energy cuffs fell to the floor. "Took you long enough," Michael said. Nari looked at him with calm eyes. "We had to wait for them to sign the warrant. You know that." "I know. I just like complaining." She almost smiled. "Save it for the debrief. We need to move." They ran through the station together, following a path that Nari had memorized from stolen blueprints. Behind them, the sounds of battle grew louder. Human strike teams were boarding the station from multiple entry points, securing critical areas and capturing council members who had been too slow to escape. When they reached the landing bay, a shuttle was waiting for them. The pilot was a young man named Kyung Ho, barely 20 years old, who had never flown a combat mission before, but he held the controls steady and kept his voice calm. "Welcome aboard, sir," he said to Michael. "Admiral Kang sends her regards." Michael strapped into his seat as the shuttle lifted off. Through the window, he could see the council station surrounded by human warships. Escape pods were being captured. Defense systems were being dismantled. The symbol of galactic power for 1,000 years was falling in a single night. "How long until we reach the Hansan?" Michael asked. 20 minutes, Kyung Ho replied. "The Admiral wants to see you immediately." Michael nodded and leaned back in his seat. His body ached. His mind was tired. But for the first time in months, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The dragon was awake. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the attack on the council station, the galaxy was falling apart. High Arbiter Colvin had escaped to a Dreth military bunker on his homeworld. From there, he was sending messages to every species in the council, demanding they join forces against humanity. His words were full of anger and fear. He called humans monsters. He called them a disease that needed to be burned out before it spread. He promised that any species who helped him would be rewarded when the war was won, but not everyone was listening. The Villani were the first to break from the council. They were a peaceful species, known for their art and their gardens. They had never liked the council's methods, but they had been too afraid to speak. Now, watching human ships control the skies above Velis Prime, they found their courage. "We will not fight this war," the Villani ambassador announced in a public broadcast. The council brought this upon themselves. They broke their own laws. They treated an entire species like slaves. "Whatever happens next, we will have no part in it." The Korath followed soon after. They were warriors, proud and strong, but they respected strength in others. What they had seen from the human fleet impressed them. These were not the weak, foolish creatures the council had described. These were soldiers, real soldiers. The Korath wanted no war with such people. The sundered clans, a loose alliance of nomadic traders, simply disappeared. They packed their ships and vanished into the deep reaches of space. Far from any battle lines, they would return when the fighting was over, they said. Until then, they wished everyone luck. But 7 species remained loyal to Colvin. 7 species who had grown rich and powerful under the council's system. 7 species who feared what a galaxy without Dreth control might look like. They gathered their fleets. They pooled their weapons. They formed the Coalition of Order, with Colvin as their supreme commander. and they prepared for war. On Earth, Dr. Yunbi Cho watched these developments with careful attention. She was the chief diplomatic strategist for the human military, a woman who had spent her entire career studying alien cultures and predicting their behavior. She had known the council would fracture. She had known some species would surrender, while others would fight. What mattered now was controlling the story. "We need to release the recordings," she told Admiral Kang during a secure video call. "Every conversation, every order, every piece of evidence we have collected over 50 years. The galaxy needs to see what the council really is." Admiral Kang nodded slowly. She was standing on the bridge of the Hansan, watching her fleet patrol the captured council station. "Do it. But be careful how you present it. We want them to see the truth, not propaganda." "I understand," Yunbi said. "The truth is powerful enough." Within hours, a massive data package was broadcast across every communication network in the galaxy. It contained recordings of council meetings, where members laughed about human suffering. It contained documents showing how much money the Dreth had made by exploiting human colonies. It contained videos of council soldiers destroying human settlements for minor rule violations. But most damning of all was the recording of Michael Turner's trial. The galaxy watched as 12 species voted to kill a man who had been given no lawyer, no chance to defend himself, no fair hearing of any kind. They watched High Arbiter Colvin smile as he signed the death warrant. They heard his words, "May your species learn from your failure." The reaction was immediate and powerful. On Dreth colonies, populations began to protest. Many of them had never seen this side of their government. They had believed the council was fair and just. Now they saw the truth, and they were angry. On neutral worlds, species who had remained silent began to speak out. They did not support war, but they could no longer pretend the council was innocent. Public opinion shifted like a tide, pulling away from Colvin and his coalition. Even within the coalition fleet, cracks began to appear. Soldiers questioned their orders. Captains wondered if they were fighting for the right side. Some ships simply refused to move when called to battle, their crews unwilling to die for leaders they no longer trusted. Colvin responded with rage. He broadcast his own message across the galaxy, calling the human evidence fake, claiming it was manufactured by alien technology. He promised rewards for any species that captured human ships. He threatened punishment for anyone who refused to fight. But his words were empty now. Too many people had seen the truth. Too many minds had changed. Admiral Kang received reports of the coalition's problems with grim satisfaction. She had hoped for this outcome, but she had not been certain. Humans understood propaganda. Humans understood how to fight wars with information as well as weapons. It was a skill they had developed over thousands of years of fighting each other. Now, for the first time, they were using it against the galaxy. Michael Turner joined her on the bridge of the Hansan, finally recovered enough to stand without help. He looked out at the stars beyond the viewport and thought about everything that had led to this moment. "Colvin will not surrender," he said. "He cannot. If he loses this war, his own people will tear him apart." "I know," Admiral Kang replied. "That is why we must give him a chance to make the choice himself. One final ultimatum. If he refuses, we end this." She opened a channel to every ship in the galaxy that could receive it. Her voice was calm and clear, the voice of someone who had already won and knew it. "High Arbiter Colvin, this is Admiral Yuna Kang of the United Earth Navy. Your coalition is falling apart. Your allies are abandoning you. Your people are turning against you. You have one chance to end this peacefully. Surrender now and face a fair trial for your crimes. If you refuse, we will come for you, and we will not stop until your government is ash." She waited. The galaxy waited. Every screen, every radio, every communication device was silent, listening for Colvin's response. It came within minutes. Colvin appeared on screen, his scales dark with fury, his yellow eyes burning with hatred. "Humans are animals," he snarled. You think you have won, but you understand nothing. The Coalition fleet will destroy you. We will burn your planet. We will erase your species from history. This is my answer, Admiral. Come and try to take me. The transmission ended. Admiral Kang looked at Michael. Her expression did not change, but there was something cold in her eyes now. Something final. He made his choice, she said. Michael nodded. Then let us finish it. The fleet began to move. The final battle was about to begin. The Battle of Velis Prime began at dawn, measured by Earth time. The Coalition fleet had gathered in the space around the dead world. 700 ships from 7 species, armed with the most powerful weapons the Old Council had ever built. High Arbiter Kolvan commanded from his flagship, the Dreth Vengeance, a massive warship that had never lost a battle in 300 years of service. Against them stood the human fleet. 200 warships, 17 carriers, and the dreadnought Hansan at the center. They were outnumbered more than 3 to 1. By any reasonable calculation, they should have lost. But humans had never been reasonable. Admiral Yuna Kang stood on the bridge of the Hansan, watching the enemy formation on her tactical display. Her officers waited in silence, ready for her orders. Michael Turner stood beside her. No longer a prisoner, now an observer to history. They expect us to fight like the Old Council, Admiral Kang said quietly. Line against line. Ship against ship. That is how wars have been fought in this galaxy for 1,000 years. And how will we fight? Michael asked. Admiral Kang smiled. It was not a kind smile. Like humans. She raised her hand and gave the signal. The human fleet did not advance in a line. Instead, it scattered. Ships broke into small groups, moving in patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully planned. They darted between enemy vessels, striking from unexpected angles, disappearing before the Coalition could respond. The Dreth commanders were confused. This was not how battles were supposed to work. Their weapons were designed to hit large, slow targets. Their shields were built to block frontal attacks. They had no defense against enemies who moved like shadows. Within the first hour, 40 Coalition ships were destroyed. Within the second hour, the number doubled. Colvin screamed orders at his captains, demanding they adapt. But adaptation took time the Coalition did not have. Commander Hyun Kang led the assault on the Dreth Vengeance itself. He was Admiral Kang's younger brother, a man who had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. His ship, the UENS Pyongyang, was small but fast, designed for one purpose: getting close to targets that thought they were untouchable. All teams, prepare for boarding, Hyun commanded. We take the High Arbiter alive. Those are our orders. His crew responded with grim determination. They had trained for this mission in secret, practicing on captured alien ships until they knew every corridor, every weak point, every place where an enemy might hide. Now they would put that training to use. The Pyongyang dodged through a storm of weapons fire, spinning and weaving in ways that seemed impossible. When it reached the Dreth Vengeance, it did not try to destroy the massive ship. Instead, it attached itself to the hull like a parasite, drilling through the armor with specialized tools. Inside, Hyun and his team moved quickly. They swept through corridors filled with panicked Dreth soldiers, using weapons that stunned rather than killed when possible. They were not here for revenge. They were here for justice. There was a difference. Colvin was found in his command chamber, surrounded by guards who threw down their weapons when they saw they were surrounded. The High Arbiter himself stood frozen, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. "This is impossible," he whispered. "You are animals. You cannot defeat us." Hyun walked toward him slowly. "We were never animals," he said. "You just never bothered to look." He placed restraints on Colvin's wrists. "High Arbiter Colvin, of the Dreth Dominion, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity and violations of the Galactic Charter. You will face trial, a real trial, with lawyers and evidence, and all the things you denied Michael Turner. Colvin had no response. For the first time in his long life, he had nothing to say. The battle lasted 7 hours in total. When it was over, 300 coalition ships had been destroyed or disabled. The rest had surrendered or fled. Human losses were minimal: 12 ships damaged, 3 destroyed. The difference in training, in tactics, in sheer determination had proven too great. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the most powerful military alliance in known space crumbled in a single day. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The old Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place, a new Galactic Assembly was formed, with representatives from every species who wanted peace. Humanity was given a founding seat, equal to any other member. No more second-class status. No more exploitation. No more treating humans as lesser beings. The Dreth Dominion, stripped of its military and its leaders, was forced to accept new laws. They would pay reparations to the colonies they had abused. They would release prisoners they had held without trial. They would learn, whether they liked it or not. That power without justice was meaningless. High Arbiter Colvin's trial was broadcast across the galaxy. He was found guilty of 47 charges, including illegal execution attempts, exploitation of protected species, and violations of every major article in the Galactic Charter. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on a remote asteroid, where he would spend his remaining years thinking about the species he had underestimated. Admiral Yuna Kang was offered a seat on the new assembly, but she refused. "I am a soldier," she said during the ceremony. "I protect people. I do not govern them. That is work for people like Michael." Michael Turner did accept a position. He became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Assembly, a role that made him one of the most powerful humans alive. Some said it was fitting. He had sacrificed himself to start this revolution. It was right that he should help build what came after. His first address to the assembly was broadcast across every world in known space. He stood at the podium, looking out at representatives from dozens of species, some who had been enemies, some who had been friends, all of them watching to see what kind of leader humanity would produce. Michael spoke slowly, carefully, choosing each word with precision. 50 years ago, humanity reached the stars. We came in peace. We came with open hands and curious minds. We wanted to learn from you. We wanted to trade with you. We wanted to be your friends. He paused, letting the words sink in. You answered our friendship with contempt. You took our resources. You enslaved our people. You laughed at us in your councils and called us primitives who would never amount to anything. His voice grew stronger. We could have responded with hate. We could have burned your worlds and taken revenge for every wrong you committed. Some of my people wanted exactly that. But we are not like you. We do not believe in cruelty. We believe in justice. He looked directly at the Dreth representatives, who sat in silence. We never wanted war. We only wanted respect. We wanted to be treated as equals. Nothing more, nothing less. Now we have that respect. We have earned it with our blood and our sacrifice. He raised his hand toward the assembly. But respect is not enough. We must build something better. A galaxy where no species is treated as inferior. A galaxy where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. A galaxy where every being, no matter where they come from, has the chance to live in dignity. His voice filled the chamber, strong and clear. That is the galaxy humanity will help you build. Not because we want power, not because we want revenge, but because it is right. He lowered his hand and stood straight. Remember this day. Remember what happened when you underestimated us. And remember that the next time you think of treating another species the way you treated us. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, applause began to spread. First, from the Vellani, then the Korath, then the sundered clans. Species after species joined, until the sound filled the entire